Thanks for that opener, Fred. Welcome along. It's just after 5 on Sunday night, which means it's time for Collective's 5 o'clock liturgy. We're glad you're here. You can check us out at wearecollectivechurch.com. That's where you can subscribe and stay connected to Collective. I'm here with Fred doing some music tonight. We've also got Heather with us doing some readings. We're really glad that you're here. We have a great service for you tonight. Let's go ahead and open up with our community statement. Welcome.
We value highly the metaphor of journey.
We're different people from different places and backgrounds.
Representing a multi-generational community, and we travel different paths.
So we agree not to make assumptions about the person across from us,
Next to us.
Or in conversation with us.
We challenge ourselves to be sensitive.
Knowing this community includes a diverse group of people
From lifelong followers of Jesus
To people who are just now open to the idea that God might exist.
We strive to avoid offense.
Ask good questions.
articulate and explain our responses.
We don't assume fluency in the Bible.
Spirituality or church language.
Because we believe the message of Jesus is not for Christianity, but for humanity.
So we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
We do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
In the spirit of love and grace.
Everything in the spirit of love
and grace.
So we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
Tonight, as we get ready to sit in silence, I want to lead us into our main idea, our main focus tonight, which is not about how much power we have as individuals, but about the power that we have when we come together. And so as we sit in silence, and we've done this in many different ways in the past, we could sit in silence and do loving kindness meditation, where we start with affirmations for ourselves, and we go out to those that we love. But tonight we're talking about the power that we have when we come together to do justice. And so I want us to imagine this using the imagery of light. So in the drone footage tonight, what you're going to see are cars in the darkness. And you see their headlights and they're moving, and you sort of got this hovering over this landscape of disparate lights. And I want us, as we begin to sit in silence, to think of our energy, of our life force, of our own individual power as one of those lights. But then also to think about how powerful it would be if we saw those lights begin to come together. And the power of each of those individual lights in the darkness coming together to form a brighter light, a stronger light. So open yourself to that imagery. Open yourself sort of to both being light and moving towards others who are light as you survey your inner landscape, as you take a few minutes to slow down and breathe. Examine your soul. Let's sit silently together for about 3 minutes as best works for you.
wind moves upon the field of barley, you'll forget the sun and its jealous sky as we walk in fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while upon the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her hair came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? We'll forget the sun and his jealous sky as we lie in fields of gold. See the west wind move like a lover so upon the fields of barley. Feel her body move as you kiss her mouth among the fields of gold. I never made promises lightly. There have been some that I broke, swearing days still left to walk in fields of gold, to walk in fields of gold. Many years have passed since those summer days among the fields of barley. See the children run as the sun goes down. Remember me when the west wind moves upon the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in its jealous sky, and we walked in fields of gold, and we walked in fields of gold, as we walked in fields of gold.
Now there arose a great outcry of the people and of their wives against their Jewish brothers. For there were those who said, "With our sons and daughters we are many, so let us get grain that we may eat and keep alive." There were also those who said, "We are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, and our houses to get grain because of the famine." And there were those who said, "We have borrowed money for the king's tax on our fields and our vineyards. Now our flesh is the flesh of our brothers, our children are as their children. Yet we are forcing our sons and daughters to be slaves, and some of our daughters have already been enslaved. But it is not in our power to help it, for other men have our fields and our vineyards." I was very angry when I heard their outcry and these words. I took counsel with myself, and I brought charges against the nobles and the officials. I said to them, "You are exacting interest, each from his brother." And I held a great assembly against them and said, "Return to them this very day their fields, their vineyards, their olive orchards, and their houses, and the percentage of money, grain, wine, and oil that you have been exacting from them." Then they said, "We will restore these and require nothing from them. We will do as you say." And I called the priests, and I made them swear to do as they had promised. I also shook out the fold of my garment and said, "So may God shake out every man from his house and from his labor who does not keep this promise. So may he be shaken out and emptied." And all the assembly said, "Amen," and praised the Lord. And the people did as they had promised.
All right, thanks for that reading, Heather. If you've been around Collective for more than, a couple years probably, you've heard about faith, you've heard about the work we've done, and you've probably heard this text. If it's not familiar, this is a passage from Nehemiah where The Israelites have gone into exile, they've come back to their land, and they're starting to rebuild, and they're trying to build a wall. And it becomes evident because of the outcry of a group of people that there is systemic injustice in their land. And they name things like taxes and the way that people are having working their own land. They mention labor. There are serious problems, and the response of Nehemiah the prophet is to call a great assembly and to hold these leaders accountable. And so if you hear nothing else in this very brief sermon, we want to ask you to come out tomorrow night, Monday night, what's the date? 22nd. Monday night, the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. At the Daytona Drive-In Christian Church, because we're going to hold a great assembly and we are going to hold our representatives accountable. So that's the sermon, is that you can actually help us do that. Now let me explain. We're wrapping up a series, and we started with this question. Somebody comes to Jesus and they say, what's the most important thing? And he gives what I would describe as the great yes and. So his yes is an affirmation of this famous Hebrew prayer called the Shema. And the Shema says, listen, so that you might learn to love God with the integrity of your heart and with your mind and your soul, whatever that is, and with your strength. And I do this because I think when we hear the word strength, we think about us making muscles, right? We think about Popeye, we think about CrossFit, we think about going and lifting. And what I want to say tonight is that this passage, and I think the whole Hebrew consciousness, is not talking about our individual strength, but is rather talking about what we at Collective call people power. We learned this phrase from organizing with faith for the last few years, and people power basically is the acknowledgement that not our individual strength, but when we as a congregation, and then even more, when we as a group of congregations, 30 plus interfaith congregations in Volusia County, hey there, somebody's honking at us from the road, when we put our people power together, not just me, but then we, the congregation, and then not just we, the congregation, but we, these 30 congregations, get together, we hold a great assembly, and we say, this year what we're saying is, we need affordable housing in Volusia County. I mean, how specific a goal is that? And we even said, what we know is we need 16,000 affordable housing units over the next couple decades, and that's if we start right now and if we have a plan. And here's the deal, we haven't started, and we don't have a plan that everyone's bought into. That's what Faith is trying to do. We're trying to get an affordable housing trust fund for our workforce in Volusia County, and we're trying to get this started by issuing a nexus study for all of Volusia County, and so we've got to get our cities and our stakeholders on board. I'm gonna be out there, this is kind of crazy, I'm gonna be out there as the negotiator tomorrow night, negotiating with our representatives from all over the county, asking them to say yes to affordable housing. Why? Because for us, when we ask what's most important, we hear Jesus say that we're supposed to be people who love God with all of our strength. And that doesn't mean let's go work out. Work out also, you should have a healthy body. But loving God with our strength means that we come together, not just me, but our congregation. And then we join forces with 30 plus other congregations. We meet with our representatives in person and we say, we're the people you represent. We're not okay with our workforce not having adequate housing. With people spending over 50% of their paycheck on housing, that's not sustainable. That's not justice. And so just like it happened in Nehemiah, we're gonna get a group of people together. We're gonna exercise our people power and we're gonna practice. We talk a lot about practice. We're gonna practice loving God with our strength. And tonight when we say strength, we mean come out to Daytona Drive-In Christian Church and exercise people power. Now it's gonna be safe. If you're sitting here going, okay, I understand things are relaxing, I understand people are getting vaccinated. Listen, there's many opportunities. You can come out, be there, you can sit in your car, open your windows or not. We're gonna ask you to honk for justice. Drive-In Christian Church means it's not gonna be like in person. You're not gonna have to think about social distancing. You're in your car, you tune into a radio station, you're gonna hear us do the negotiation. Representatives will be there live, honk for justice, or you can absolutely tune in online. And hear me say this. This is true to the philosophy of Collective. We say your presence makes us who we are, and what we mean is in person and online. Faith is also saying this year, people power happens in person and online. So if you can't make it, and we want you to make it if you can, if you can't make it, get on the Zoom. Have your number be one of the numbers that gets counted. Have your name show up as somebody who stood for justice when we said we've got to have workforce housing in our community. So that's it, guys. That's the sermon. Loving God with our strength this week is so simple and so practical. Come out. We're going to exercise people power. We're going to hold representatives accountable, and we're going to try to do justice in our community, Volusia County, housing. It doesn't get much more practical than that. So please come out. Help us do that tomorrow night at 6:30 at the Daytona Drive-In Christian Church. Now, you can tell I'm excited. You can tell I'm passionate. Obviously, I've been more involved in this year than I ever have in the past. I've gotten to do a bunch of negotiating. I've gotten to spend a lot of time with our representatives. I've gotten to understand this issue. And I feel like I need to be honest with you, especially right now, that you can tell that I'm excited, and I am. I'm passionate about this. I know that we can do good. I believe in this. And I want to be honest. I want to do something that I think Jesus did really well with his disciples, which is to say, there's going to be a cost. There is a cost to doing justice. And if you're a part of our congregation, you very likely know that when you put yourself out there as a prophetic voice for good and for justice, not everyone likes that. And so we end our service every week holding up some bread and some juice because it represents the body and the blood of Jesus. And the reason it represents Jesus' body and blood is because he was a prophetic voice who ended up on the wrong side of power, who ended up on the wrong side of the system, and he was executed. And so I think there's some responsibility for me here to say, please come out tomorrow night because it is the right thing to do. Because if you come out, you will be on the right side of history because it is for us the truest practice of our Christian faith. And you need to know that if you come out, you will also be then a part of a movement who's drawing some pretty heated criticism right now. And you may have heard about that criticism, and we don't need to go into it other than to say, and I said this on last Sunday, when you're standing on the side of justice, sometimes the closer you get to justice and the closer you get to the truth, the louder the voices of the powerful will become trying to discredit us. And our stance is humility. Our stance is to tell the truth. That's faith's stance. We're going to keep coming back to the numbers. We're going to do the best we can with the research we do, with the data that we have, and we're going to do what Nehemiah taught us to do. Which is to take some risks in order to come together and demand that our representation understands what we mean by justice, what our faith demands of us and of justice. And yes, sometimes that has a cost. And the Eucharist reminds us that part of what's most compelling, not just about justice and not just about spiritual development and not just about growing a community, but that part of what's most compelling about the core of this faith is that we're organizing for justice, we're practicing together, we're building community, all because we've been moved to live a life. And even though we know that life can be silenced, that life can be discredited, that life can even be killed, we live that life in the spirit of a love that can't. And so we come to an action assembly confident in our people power because we know that we're on the side of love. We know that we're on the side of love, which promises us that even if justice doesn't get done by us right now in the way that we'd like, that love prevails, and so that justice will get done. As we close and reflect with some music, even before you piously sit and meditate and reflect, I hope you'll actually grab your phone and check your calendar, make sure that you're going to be there tomorrow night at 6:30, in person or online. Come and help us learn and practice again to love God with all of our strength. And all of our strength as a congregation means you too. So let's reflect, and we'll see you tomorrow night at the Action Assembly.
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life
chattel. All this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? Could a garden come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. You make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, you are making me new. You make me new, you are making me new. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things, you make beautiful things out of us. All right, our benediction tonight comes from the famous prayer of St. Francis of Loyola. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Grace and peace. Have a great night.